Sis, meet our sister, Becky, an Israeli immigrant woman owning her individuality and rediscovering herself. She asked herself, why be Jewish? And then went off to produce a documentary, The American Birthright. Let's get into it. Girl, we got this. What up, sis? How are you? How are you feeling? Welcome back to Girl, We Got This. I have a really beautiful, special guest because she brought a guest along with her. Her name is Becky Tahel. Welcome to Girl, We Got This.
Thank you so much for having us.
The baby's here too. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I mean,
it's a lot of work.
it's a lot of work. But you can clearly
But I'm doing
handle
it.
all of it. And I'm proud of you.
Thank you for that reminder.
I'm really proud of you. Honestly, I think mothers always forget the power that they hold just by holding. You create us. You're the creator.
We do forget.
It's
It's easy to forget because
Yes.
the world gets so noisy and
Yes.
we're told that we have to do more. And so for a long time, I felt so much shame, like I wasn't doing enough.
Bro,
except for growing a foot today, you know? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Moms, you're growing a human inside of your body right now. Don't ever tell me you're not doing enough.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. She is, on top of being a mother, she's a writer, she's a producer, and she's a content creator. And I am so excited to share a story because it's really riveting. I'm excited to learn so much about you. So you're from Philly.
I'm from Philly. I was born in Israel.
Ah.
Moved to Philly when I was 6.5.
Okay.
Learned the ropes, the language, try to figure out how to reconcile my dueling identities. My
Yes.
dad's Russian, my mom's Moroccan. So yeah, like similarly East Coasters with a lot of different backgrounds.
Yes.
But yeah, that's those are the early days. And then
What was
grew
that
up with
transition like?
awful. I remember none of it. And I imagine that was because one, I was 6.5.
Yeah.
And like, what memories do we really take with us from
And
back
hold.
then?
Yeah, it's hard. I don't remember anything.
Which is wild. It's like, where did all of that life go?
Yes.
But more than that, I think it was just so traumatic. It was really, really tough. And I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So to not be able to
I know that.
not be able to speak the language, to not know the rules, I mean, that was traumatic.
Yes. And
it's
our
all-
brain does block all the trauma. That's what we do naturally.
Absolutely. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it took a while. I learned English. I was in ESL.
Yes.
And English as a second language, and apparently had an accent and all of these things. But yeah, that was the first few years of my life. Yeah.
You know what? I remember ESL.
Really?
Yeah, and I never had to take it, but I had friends learning English. And sometimes we forget that English isn't everybody's first language here in America as Americans. And it's so wild. Like, I would have never thought that English was your second language just by meeting you off.
I forget.
jump.
I forget because I'm so American now.
Yeah.
It's been years. I've been here for a lot. I'm a citizen now. I feel American first in many ways. But if I really think identity-wise, there's so much more going on. I'm certainly not American. And like, what is American?
Yes. What
know?
is American? That's a really genius question. With that being said, you just created this incredible film. Can we talk about the film, and then I want to get back to you because this film is very powerful, and I think what you're saying right now, what is American, kind of alludes to what you created.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for that beautiful setup.
You're
My God,
welcome.
can you be my PR? Are
I
you
got
for
you.
hire?
I got you, Ruth.
My film's called American Birthright.
Yes.
And it started out as a personal journey, and it continued to be a personal journey, but my sister at the time got engaged to a non-Jew. And so like I told you, as an Israeli woman, raised by, I mean, our ancestors, as far as we can remember,
Yes.
are all Jewish.
Yes.
That is such a core existential struggle of continuity that my sister marrying out bumped me so much.
Older sister, younger sister?
Younger sister.
Whoa. Get it, younger sister? Wow.
But the funny thing is I didn't only date Jews. My friends weren't Jewish. Like, I felt so bumped by the fact that I was bumped. I felt so judgmental. So I felt like that could be a really interesting film. And naively, I just walked into the documentary journey. I was like, people make movies about themselves.
Why can't I?
So silly. I had no idea what I was
I'm
doing.
fucking proud of you for that. That's brave.
But that's me. It's like
Yes.
naive.
Yes, but is
and
that
bold.
naive?
yes and no. Like, if I, you know what? No, it's bold.
Yes.
But the naivete is like when you don't know that you can't do everything and wear all of the hats, you wear all of them.
Yes.
And you can't do that a second
Yes,
time.
yes.
And I kind of like, I'm so glad that I had and embraced the opportunity to be naive in the filmmaking process the first time, because it won't come again a second time in the same way. But the film changed my life. I started out asking the question, why marry Jewish? Like, what's the deal?
Yes.
Why? And 2 years into making this thing, it completely flipped on me. Like, I experienced a twist. Like, you know when you watch a movie and there's a twist and you're like, oh, I did not see that coming. That happened in my life with cameras around. And I was like,
As you're filming.
I was like, I'm not.
Caught on
chills. I
camera?
have chills right now. Caught on camera. I was like, I'm not making the film I thought I was making. Wow. I need to be asking a different question. What I realize is I'll never be able to answer why marry Jewish until I can answer why be Jewish. Why be the thing we are? Because if that's important to me, then I'll know how to answer the first question. So it's a really deep dive into meaning and self and faith and ancestor and love and like, where do all of those things intersect and fall? Yeah.
So on this journey of being Jewish as a woman, seeing your sister marry outside, did this shift you to get to this, or to this point of creating a film, or was it like, I want to explore why I am Jewish?
So it started out with me just really selfishly in the industry being like, I want to make a film. I want people to know who I am as a female director, writer, producer. And knowing, because 7 years ago, you had the Amy Poehlers and the Tina Feys, and all these strong women were coming out saying, we don't want you to write our roles. We'll write our roles and we'll produce them and we'll act in them. And I was like,
let's do it.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
So it started out with that intention. And when that idea, and Elizabeth Gilbert, if you don't know the author, she's just such a badass, but she talks about like ideas living in potential state and finding host bodies. I had that in the car. I just come out of an audition for a commercial that I didn't get. Yet another one.
Girl, I already know that life. I know that life.
Like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I in my car again? I just drove 45 minutes to La Brea. I'm not doing this again.
To like eat a cookie and smile.
And not get it again. Like, I'm not doing this anymore.
That's the entertainment industry.
And God bless it, but and I needed that to set up that moment where I realized I need to tell my own story. And I said, well, what is my own story? And then I realized my sister just got married is getting engaged, to a non-Jew. And I was in a J-Date commercial, which is like the poster child for Jewish dating.
It was like a dating app?
It was a dating app, J-Date, for Jewish people. And I was like, isn't that just that's an ironic sort of inciting incident for a character.
Yes.
Like, there goes writer in me.
Yes.
Not just trying to script my own life. Saying there's something interesting here. Like, apart from the fact that it's marketable, it's like J-Date girl's sister gets engaged to a non-Jew. Fine, like that's a fun headline.
Right.
But I was like, no, but there's something here. So I called a mentor and was like, what do you think about this? And he was like, no one's touching interfaith marriage. That's not a sexy topic. And I was like, I will. And so that's what started it. And I wasn't exploring my Jewish identity in that capacity until I started filming.
Wow.
And I'm sure you also experienced this, but as soon as cameras start rolling, there's a magic. Like, something
100%.
happens.
100%.
My whole life changed. I like suddenly was like, oh, there is a bigger force working through me to direct this thing. And that was it. 7 years later, this thing is out and about in the world, festivals. It's been in a couple theaters recently, and now we're selling it. And Netflix, where you at?
Where you at, Net? Where you at, Net?
You can call 610-960-4944.
Yes.
So that's where,
So I'm proud of you for doing it and for listening to that intuition and to having that idea appear and come to you in the car after that commercial. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to do what you do, Becky. Like, I know that there are people that are like, I don't want to go into another audition. I just don't. Like, I'm tired and I have stories to tell. How did you get that courage to be like, I'm doing this, and where did you start?
Hold on, we have a lot to make.
Thank you.
I got you.
We're out in nature, you know.
Yeah, I love it. I love it
for us.
I almost sneezed. The like ballsiness and the boldness, I think is just something that it has to be a gift, because it's not like, here's what I did and like the thoughts I had and why in that moment I said F it. Like, I think I was raised to believe that I could do most anything.
That's a gift.
With some, like, I'm an immigrant.
Yes.
So there was like, you can do, but you got to work hard. You can do, but like, just know that there's, you know, like but there were a bunch of buts.
Yes.
But I was really blessed and am really blessed to have a supportive family.
Yes.
And they let me move out here with, you know, $2,000 in my pocket, enough to afford rent for a few months.
Yeah.
And they were like, you got this. We know you. You fall on your feet. So I think there's a bit of having been set up by a family that believed in me.
That's beautiful.
And that's so important. But if you don't have that, you can find that here too.
Yes.
You can find it within yourself. You can find it within your sisters.
Yes.
You can find it within community.
Yes.
To strengthen you. Because
Yes, it's so important.
we all need that.
We
all
need that because when I find these beautiful women doing these creative journeys, I always wonder, how did you start? Because so many people just want to start, they just don't know how to start.
And you know what it is that's missing often? And I appreciate you asking the question again, because I'm like, no, there was something. What was my first action?
Yes.
It was to call a mentor.
Yes.
So like find a mentor. And it was then to call a friend.
Yes.
And it was my friend Erin, who also is from Philly, came out here with the same stars in her eyes.
Yep.
And I said, I have an idea. Do you want to create it with me? So we need mentorship.
Yes.
We need support.
Yes.
And we cannot create in a silo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a sisterhood, as we see often on our episodes, you know, of us having this idea and us needing help and us having the courage to say, hey, I have this idea. You down? Or what do you think of this? Or asking for help as a woman is so vital. It's so vital.
It's everything. It's
Yes.
everything. I can't imagine not. And even just the creating of the space.
Yes.
To ask the question, like, not everyone can find a good friend.
Yes.
It's really, really hard. I know
Yes.
I was always told that a good friend is really tough to find.
And it's true. But when you do, and when it comes along, you're like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, American Birthright.
yeah.
How are you feeling right now that you've birthed yet another baby? Because I know it was your baby. This
You said it right.
piece of art is another baby. How did it feel? I want to know, like, the process of your creative process, and what is the story that you're telling the world?
It is a baby.
Yes.
And the last couple screenings we had, I wanted to set an intention before, so I would like walked up and was like, hey, you're about to watch what is like me basically carrying a child for 7 years and birthing it. And this was the hardest birth. I've birthed before. This is my second child.
Yes.
And this film was a tougher birth for sure than a real life child, like a big watermelon coming through the size of a lemon keyhole, whatever they say. It literally was the hardest thing I've had to birth. Because it involved so much more. And look, and I think like biologically in our anatomy, like we rest on the strength of the women in the sisterhood that came before us when we give birth. At a cellular level, you know that you can birth because women have done it before.
Yes.
And you tap into that. Something happens. It's magic.
Yes.
But with film, there's so many failures. It's really hard. The narrative is even worse than childbirth.
Yes.
All we see is that people just don't make it. And so people never make their art. And it was really hard to constantly push against that narrative and say, I'm going to do this. And I felt really responsible to this like figurative audience that would like one day exist.
Yes, that you created. I love that for
right?
you. I'm so proud of you for doing that.
I was like, we gotta keep
Yes.
going. When we like lost our minds in post-production, I mean, like once we even finished it, let's talk about, you finish the movie.
Yeah.
You have 150 hours of footage.
Yes.
Because you're a crazy
Yes.
person who overshoots everything. And you're sitting in the edit bay and you're like, how do we make a movie now? And you make 10 different movies before you arrive at this movie. And at some point you just have to say, go baby, be in the world, impact. This is, I've sculpted you enough to believe that this is a story we need to tell and go. And that was really vulnerable because I said to myself, this could flop. And all these people I've been talking about this movie for so many years. There's so much pressure.
Yeah.
But I can only, it's my first and I
Yes.
can only do what I can do. And
Yes.
the impact has been phenomenal. And it's like I'm so proud of this child. It's like watching my baby walk and talk, and that's what this film is doing in the world and impacting people and inspiring them. And I could talk on and on about this baby. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it.
I'm proud of you for creating, and I'm proud of you for having the courage to release it. Because a lot of us create, and it's hard because we're so worried about what everybody else is going to say. Especially a story so, can you share like a challenge that happened and how you overcame it? for anybody that is in this film industry
Yeah.
and like, you know, are dealing with similar issues that you've dealt with.
I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges, and we'll just speak to it, is money.
Yes, that's so true.
You have an idea, you're like, I want to make a movie.
Yes.
I have no money. Or
Yes.
where do I get the money? Or how much money do I need? Or do I need, like, money stops a lot of people from doing anything, from travel, from dating,
From living.
from living,
Yeah.
from anything, from eating the healthy foods,
Yes.
like whatever it is. So money was a big hang up.
Yeah.
But I realized that's also just energy. And so if I need to really do something, I'll find a way. I crowdfunded. I asked for favors. I used my own money. I was like, I didn't go to film school, right? So, and I haven't gotten a master's yet. I got a so this is my master's. I'm funding my film school.
I love that.
Reframing the experience for myself and saying, if I have to pay for it, I will. If I'm doing this, I will. Like, I'm not going to therapy, this is therapy. Whatever it is, and I will say the reason I also contextualize this process as therapy, as school, as everything, is because I truly believe that like what we do in the creative world is not what it seems. It's all self-development disguised by the art of making content. So I wasn't making a documentary. I was changing my life, and then I somehow got a movie in the process. But that wasn't what it was. So I didn't look at it through this very Hollywood lens of, you're going to be rich and famous after this. How are you going to sell? Is this marketable? People told me, don't touch Israel. Israel is very political. No one's going to watch your movie. Don't make it too Jewish. I was like, how are you going to tell me not to make it too Jewish? I am Jewish. This is about right? But I listened and I debated and I shot a lot of stuff that included other people's journeys. And I was like, maybe we branch out and make it just a big highway of different stories about intermarriage. It didn't work. It had to be specific. It had to be nuanced. And I had to lean into all of those corners that people told me, don't touch that.
Yes.
And it was scary. But you know, when something's scary, you're like, I guess that's where I got to go.
Yo, to everyone listening, scary is a green light. Scary means go. To the listeners that may not know about the Jewish culture, that may not know, like, hey, me watching this film, what is it going to show me as somebody that doesn't know about your religion, that doesn't know about what you were born into?
Yeah.
Tell us about your culture. Tell us about what's in the film, like the audience can receive from watching this incredible film that you created.
Thank you for that question and creating the space for that, because it is an important one, and one that I don't always try to speak into out of my own anxieties. And look at that. Like, who wants...
Because it is hard. It's difficult.
It is. It is. And I think being a minority is difficult.
Yes, 100%.
Though I present as white.
Yes.
It's like I always talk about that. I remember one of my Nigerian besties was like, you are not white. You're Jewish. And I was like, there's a difference.
I got chills in my
You know what I
arm.
mean?
Yes.
So that.
And owning that. Yes.
The narrative is very, very layered.
Yes.
And the practice, so we're an ethno-religion. We're a people first. But there is also a religious aspect to Judaism.
Yes.
That is tied into the land, is tied into the land of Israel, and is tied into ritual. And none of that I grew up with. So my mom was the rebel. She was raised religious and was like, not for me. I don't like rules. I know how to be a good person. I don't need anybody to tell me how. And I respected that. She's very independent, very much the rebel. She's an Aquarius too. Did her own thing.
I love that, Mom.
And I love her.
Yeah. That's
But growing up as an immigrant in America, trying to figure out what is my unique identity in this massive melting pot, that was a tough narrative for me to listen to from my mom, because I was like, no, but what am I?
Because there's no... Yes, I know. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it,
So
100%.
See, and it's a dynamic that we struggle with, not just as Jews, but all of us, this pluralistic mindset and the particularistic mindset. It's like, we're all humans, but I do have a specific singularity that is me as a Jew. So what does that look like? And I didn't get that, and I sort of fumbled around, and then I moved to LA and I bumped around a whole bunch more into stuff. And then I realized that I need to know who I am. And I felt very called to respect my ancestors and to learn what I came from and what my mom's parents stood for so boldly.
Yes.
They fled Morocco with all of this knowledge and care and faith in something that they lived for and they died for. So I was like, well, what is that about? Because then when I get married and have kids, what am I going to tell my kids? What am I going to tell them about who their grandparents were, why their parents live the way they do, and who the Jewish people are? So the movie has this really fun, gimmicky thing that I created as I sort of go through what I call like my conversion. I feel like I need to treat myself like I'm converting. Like, well, who am I? What is it? I create a to-do list of like all of the elements of Judaism that I want to explore. What's the deal with modesty? What is God? Like, what's God looked at? What's the Torah? Like,
Yes.
what is that
Yeah.
thing? What is halacha, which is Jewish law? Like, what are all of those rules and why are they so important to the Jewish people? Because they always felt super oppressive.
Yes.
Do I have to do all these things to be a good person? What is kosher? Why do we eat specific things and what does that mean energetically? And what's Shabbat? Shabbat is a big thing, a big one whole 25-hour window that we
Yes.
take off one day every single
Yep.
week. And it's like, what? Like, I thought people who kept Shabbat were crazy because they were to me.
Yeah.
And now I keep Shabbat. So,
See?
so on the
This
other
is
side, yeah, it's
beautiful.
such a fun journey into understanding why Jews Jew the way
Yeah.
that they Jew.
Yeah.
And also educating others because I think, look, I mean, like, let's be real. The Jewish people have been hated on for a very long time. It's in our blood, right? We had a Holocaust. I'm like, my grandmother is a living Holocaust survivor, so
Wow.
it's not a narrative I dwell on, but
Yes.
it's certainly one that has informed my identity.
Yes.
So it's important to recognize. But even that aside, there's a lot of anti-Semitism in the world globally, and I'm just like always shocked. In America, in California, we're very cozy, very comfy and cozy.
Yes.
But I don't take it for granted that a lot of my brothers and sisters are living really tough lives because people don't understand their tradition
Wow.
and why they show up the way they do.
Wow.
So the movie does a very simple, fun job at sort of opening the doors to Judaism, like a quick 101. But I hope that people want to dive in deeper and also want to dive into their own traditions. Like, why am I Christian? Why am I Buddhist? Why am I Muslim? Why am I...
It's the question.
It's the question. That's the
Yes.
vessel.
And it's so beautiful that you created this question for yourself and then created this world for so many people to learn.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know, I dated a Jewish guy, and I'll never forget.
How'd that go?
It was interesting because I had no idea about the Jewish culture.
Oh, wow.
I didn't. And I remember I was sitting, I mean, he didn't last long, I'm going to be completely honest. Great guy. So sweet. Kind.
Sure.
But it just didn't, it was a travel thing. It didn't work out. But however, you know, we're sitting here and we're talking and we're at a table of other people that are Jewish. And I'm sitting here and they're talking about all this shit. And I had no idea what they were talking
You're like,
about.
what is this about?
Yeah.
Cliff's Notes, please? Anyway?
Yeah, but it is such a special culture and there's so much beauty in it. But if you don't know, you don't know. So what you've done is something that I cannot wait to see. Because we as humans have to learn about each other.
Thank you.
We have to learn about each other's cultures. Immigrants are some of the most... first of all, I have so many friends that come from different worlds. And when they come here, I see the world so differently because of people like you. You know, and if it's not because of people like you, I don't know why she feels this way or she has these beliefs.
How else are we going to know?
We don't know. So what you've created is so powerful.
Thank you.
Like, it's going to teach me so much. I can't wait to see it.
I hope that everyone listens to you and goes, that's a lens I want to live through. Because if
It
we
should
all
be.
did that, do you know how much more peace we'd have in the world? Do you know how much
Baby.
less ignorance we'd have in the world? Like, do you that is, but why can't people do that? Why aren't you threatened by that? It's threatening to learn
Yes.
other people's narratives because you might have to be wrong for me to be right. And what if you're right? Does that mean I'm wrong? It brings up a lot of weird existential crises that they're just
It doesn't
ridiculous.
have to exist. You know, we live in this space where there's a lot of divide. Mm-hmm. And if we come to our human form, in which we all are human here in this race, and we are open to each other, and to understanding, there'd be so much peace in this world.
I
But
agree.
people have to be understanding.
Absolutely.
They have to understand, why are Jewish people the way they are? Why don't you ask? You know? And there has to be more of this empathy, this world where people can understand and relate and love.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. And look, to tell you the truth, like, American Birthright is one sliver of a humongous narrative that is the Jewish world. So now that I'm, this baby's out in the world and I'm getting asked, so where do we get access to more of this nuanced, holistic, accurate Jewish representation in Hollywood?
Yes.
Where do we get more of this? Because mine's a documentary, it's about me, but like, there's so many other stories. And
Yes.
it's, where do we get those? And I realized no one knows because no one's making that stuff. So that's my passion space. And it's big and it feels like I'm not naive anymore where I'm
Yes.
like, I can just do this. I'm
Yes.
like, oh, this is big. I
Yes.
need a lot of help. I
Yes.
need a lot of help.
Yes.
But that's okay because I know that as we up level, more help comes. I'm terrified of the calling. I'm terrified that I am going to step into telling Jewish narrative.
Yes.
But I got to do it. I got to do it for my people. I got to do it for exactly what you said. How else are we going to learn about each other? And media is the place.
How else? Yeah, how else? We have to be willing to share our stories. Yeah. We have to be willing to have our voice be heard.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'll never come together as one. So I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Thank you.
I want to get back to the journey. So you said your life changed. How did your life change doing this film?
What's crazy about this is, like, one, you see a lot of this visually in the film. You see me showing up as a sort of like confused, young, about to turn 30 girl. And by the end of the film, my sister, I have like I don't want to spoiler alert, but my sister and I embrace at the end, and she's like, you feel different. You feel more in the earth. And I look at myself and I'm like, wow, that's a different girl. Like, yeah, she has the same hair and she has the same eyes and the same nose and same mouth. But that's a different person. And how beautiful that I got to document. Like, we were very honest in how we presented this 6-year-long journey. It was really 4 years on camera and 2 years in post, but this, say, 4-year-long journey. It's a 66-minute film.
Yeah.
So to me, I changed both in front of the camera and as a creative. I learned so much about the art of filmmaking. I learned so much about the art of telling a story and telling my story and what that takes. And the fluff that I had and the fluff that I put in the film was like a very much an indication of fluff that I still had in my life that I didn't want to cut. Everything was everything. There was such a mirror effect. And but more than that, at a really practical level, I show up differently now as a Jewish woman. Where before I had values that were like, Jewish identity is important, I care about the state of Israel, I care about my people, and tradition is important. But if you told me, great, tradition's important. What traditions? Tell me about them. I'd be like, I didn't know what they really were. And I didn't know how to really carry them out. So if I were to invite you over to my home, what would be specifically Jewish about my home? I couldn't really tell you, except for that I had a mezuzah, a little thing on the door when you walk in to kiss. That's all. That's kind of all that was Jewish about my house.
Wow.
Now it's very different. You know, I keep kosher, I keep Shabbat, I have holidays, I pray, I meditate, I connect, I read my ancestors' text, I learn, and I learn with people who care to deepen sort of the wisdom that we were passed. And I feel responsible. I think the kind of person I am now and the kind of content I now make, and it's not all Jewish content, don't get me wrong, I'm very much create all sorts of content, but it has a different depth, has a different me.
This is beautiful because this you has transformed, it's evolved, and you get to see your evolution caught on film. What a gift.
It's so cool. It's so
cool. This is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is where the magic comes. You see people's transformations, and you're going to empower so many
I hope
people and so many women that haven't had that experience like you growing up and now understanding, like, who am I?
Who am I?
Asking that question, who am I? That's the question I feel like we all ask ourselves.
And it's a journey.
Who am I?
It's a dynamic journey, but you know, when you get to a place of rootedness in at least a couple bits and pieces of the answer, your life changes. You can draw more clarity to you.
You're always going to be that student. You're always going to be learning.
Absolutely.
Why am I here? Who am I? You know, there's more questions to ask, but you're doing the asking. And you're discovering along the way and creating for us all to learn along the way. I mean, that's fucking awesome.
You're the best. My platform is walking with questions.
I love this.
It's all about walking with the question. What question are you walking with right now? Because the question is the vessel. If you're not asking, you don't have space to receive wisdom. If you're asking, even if it's the wrong question. I was asking the wrong question. There's no wrong question. Sometimes you got to walk with a question that's not really the ultimate question, but you'll drop into the deeper question eventually. But walk with one.
You have to, because it opens so many doors. It gives you purpose too. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It's so beautiful. I'm so proud of you for creating this film.
Thank you.
I want to know one thing. So now, being this Becky now, looking at younger Becky, just in Philly with mom and dad and sister, what would you say to her? Like, can you go back there in space right now and be like, yo, you're going to be creating a film and learning all these things you haven't learned. Like, how do you feel?
I laugh often. I laugh because it's just so absurd. And I guess that's what, they say, like, that God, we make plans and God laughs. And I feel like in ways, too, I'm laughing with God at myself because I thought things would work out in a specific way, or I thought that I would never be like that. I never thought I'd keep Shabbat. I never thought I'd be the kind of person that I am today. I never saw myself as a mother. I never saw myself married. I knew I'd eventually get to wanting those things, but I didn't see it. I wasn't the girl that dreamed of her wedding and like planned it. And
Me neither. I'm not that girl.
I wasn't that girl. And I traveled and I did my thing and I manifested in a very sort of like, I would call it a very masculine sort of, I did whatever I wanted. And I did it and I got after it and I was proactive. And so if you told like even 10 years ago me, you're going to be creating a film that's very Jewish and you're going to be married with a kid by the end and you're going to be pregnant, I would have just been like, oh, that seems so drab. Wow. Really? Is it fun? Do I at least get money? And then you would tell me, no, the movie doesn't really, documentaries don't make you money, but you're going to feel really good about yourself. Wow. I'd be like, oh God, well then I'm not packing up my bags at all. Like I'm just going to stay here and be a teacher.
Yeah.
I saw differently and I had different priorities and my measures of success were different, which is why it was very difficult for me entering motherhood to not feel shame that I haven't done more.
Yes.
Because the 10 years ago Becky thought an Oscar and wealth and everyone knowing my name would mean success, not maternal manifestation, being a mom, being a partner, creating a piece that shines a light on people, on your journey, on vulnerability and authenticity.
Yes.
That didn't look so sexy to me back then. So I would just say, we plan, but if we can just listen, and I think, again, the creative process guides you in listening in such a beautiful way, and we can just go with it. It delivers such magic. We can just listen as opposed to talk.
Yes.
Which I do a lot of. I'm sorry, you're very good at listening. So much magic can happen.
It's so true. I mean, I'm proud of you. What a journey.
Thank you so
you're
much.
on.
Yes.
I'm listening to you and I see, this boss ass woman going after it, living life full throttle. And then all of a sudden a question comes and you're like, yo, I need to figure out who I am. And I always say, you said you started the film around 30.
Right, 29.
29, 30, there's always a shift.
Yeah.
And women.
Yep.
I don't know about men, but I know for women for sure, there's always a shift that happens. I had a shift at 30. And you start questioning, like, is this my life?
Right.
Yes or no? And why? And it's so beautiful that you took advantage of this question and continued the path with all the challenges, because it's not easy.
It's not. It's not. And we need to. And I think when you, again, there's a line in the movie, and it relates to questioning self, but I think it also can relate to any person in the crossroads of a journey of like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Because when that whisper calls to you, don't bury it, because that whisper is the access to your true happiness. And what the rabbi says is like, when you bury it, you bury your heart and you bury your truth. And we have to listen to those whispers. The whispers are the access to our true happiness. And it's usually a whisper. It's usually really quiet.
Yes. But you have to hear it.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to hear it.
Yeah.
That is when the whisper calls, don't bury it. Did you guys hear that?
Don't bury it.
Don't bury it. Because a lot of us do.
Yeah. It's easier to.
Yes.
It's way less confronting to. It's way less work.
Yes.
Don't we just want to stay the same? Even if the same is painful and really not it, and we know it.
Yes.
We'd rather not change. But I love like the strong narratives and strong women like you and the sisters we have around us who are creating from a place of, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I can't continue to be comfortable.
Yes.
Because comfortable isn't it.
Yep. It's
Comfortable
not
is not it. If
I
scary
want
is
to
the green
evolve.
light. Exactly.
Yes, we want to keep going. We have to keep going. So now, as a mother, as a wife, how does it feel? How do you feel right now? You're about to have a second child. What do you feel like? You are this evolution of a woman, from your culture to now your career to motherhood to partnership. What does it feel like? How do you feel right now?
I feel hopeful. Because if you had asked me about a year ago, I would have said I feel heavy, I feel tired, I feel unsure. I feel scared. I feel different. And I feel like I know there's hope around the corner, but I'm a little bogged down by this new identity. I'm a little bogged down by this new life that I have to carry. And this was before the pregnancy. Obviously, I had she was not even a year old, and we were on the road traveling in an RV like crazy parents, trying to see the world during COVID and trying to make the most of things. And it was heavy. Life was heavy, and life got heavy. And I think there was a collective heaviness.
100%, no
it's a
question.
collective doom and all that good stuff. We don't need to get into it. But I got past that, and I think anytime we get past something, and I see it in my film, there was an existential crisis, and I kept asking questions. I kept going, what's here? Why is this hard? Why? Don't stop asking the why. Don't stop asking, because as soon as you throw your hands up, that energy is very dark and heavy, and then it's tougher to get out of it.
Yes.
And because I got out of it, and now I have a second child on the way, and it feels so different and so much lighter than I thought it would, that's hope. And we know that even when there's a global pandemic, even when all things are really hard, even when someone breaks your heart, even when you don't know where you're going, even when you don't know what you're doing, that eventually also lifts and clarity comes so long as you keep going, so long as you surround yourself. I mean, thank God I have incredible women in my life who help me through, who I get to ask my deepest, darkest questions to.
Yes.
We need that.
We need it.
And that's how I feel today. I'm really proud. I'm proud I kept going. I'm proud that I'm creating in many new ways. This is, again, a way that I did not see myself creating or really dream into.
Yes.
And it is such a different dream, and it's such a cool reality, and I feel so stretched in many ways. I'm stretched.
Literally.
Didn't even mean that, but totally. Very stretched, but look at that.
Yeah.
'Cause you look at your stomach and you're like, I mean, I've had Thanksgiving meals.
Yeah.
But this is big.
Yeah.
Your body can take a lot.
Yes.
Your body can take a lot. Let it. Let it. Trust it.
Yes. You're creating human. You're creating another human.
It's wild.
It's so
wild.
beautiful.
It's wild.
So for me, and to a lot of the women that I'm sure that are listening, I don't know if this is going to spoil the documentary, but you tell me, how did you meet your husband? Because you're not dreaming about it. That wasn't your focus. You were career driven.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, I'm career driven. And I love hearing stories of the women that are just focused, and then all of a sudden somebody comes along.
Movie.
We want to know.
And I'll tell you what about manifesting love is that I tried to manifest in my 20s and then early 30s as well in a sort of misdirected way. Like I was like really open, and I wanted to be open. There's nothing wrong with open. But I was a little too open. So open that I would just get a bunch of stuff that wasn't quite what I wanted. And then my friends would say, well, write down exactly what you want. Did not. But I didn't even really know what I wanted. What do I put on that list? You know what I mean?
That's
It's like,
the issue.
What do I want?
I know.
What do I want? And that was when it all shifted. So as soon as I was able to get really clear, and there's a matchmaker in the movie that I sit down with during one of the to-do list elements is marriage.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what does Judaism say about marriage? What are relationships? What are best practices in relationships? And Judaism has a lot to say about all of that.
Yeah.
But the one thing she said is, you sort of have to be a horse with blinders on to really manifest what you need. But people are afraid to do that. Or they don't know what the blinders are. But it's really the way to getting what you want is to go, this is what I want. I mean, think about that in our career. You go, I'm going to make a podcast, and it's going to be about this, and it's going to be amazing. And you get really clear. But somehow when it comes to love, we're like, oh, that's really limiting. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm never going to manifest.
Yes.
How is that so? So as soon as I was back from my journey in Israel, I'd gotten really clear. And I said to myself, I'd rather not have love. I did this. I'd rather not have love unless it is the aligned love. And I want it to be like this. I don't need and it wasn't about what he looked like specifically or whatever.
Yes.
But I could sort of feel the kind of person that I would be best matched with. And I wanted him to value the things I valued. And I wanted him to show up in the world creatively. I wanted him to have a care for the things I cared about.
Yes.
And I also, I feel like we don't often ask this, is like, can this be a good father for my kids?
Girl, I think about that immediately because I want children.
Oh, I did not think about that.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I do.
That's amazing to think about. Do you think people in their 20s are thinking about that when they're making the biggest decisions of their life? We are making lifelong decisions of mate and career and everything in a time when we are not specific with who we are and what we want.
Yes.
So I came back and I was specific. And then I happened to go to a party, and he was the one running the party.
Yes.
And it was like he's like, I immediately was like, who's that girl? And I was so focused on working that I didn't really remember him.
Yes.
We met again a week later, and at that moment I was like, who is that? He was like, he just felt like the male version of me. And people say soulmates look alike and all that good stuff, and I don't know, maybe we do, but there was a real kindred spiritness. He's also Israeli born, but American. He has Moroccan background, just like me. Speaks Hebrew, but is like very American. Like all of these things, we also had the same dueling identities, the same different backgrounds that all are coming together to make us who we are. And he happened to also have Judaism at the forefront of his life and his values. Something that I wasn't looking for before. And I really clarified that for myself in this process. So the clarity helped. And we met. And yes, we met at a party. And yes, then again, we met with friends. And it wasn't on an app and whatever and all that good stuff. But that doesn't matter. I was so clear. And dating looked different. Our second date, I like literally, I talk about this in Megillah, this like list I opened up. And I was like, here's what I want. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And just like... Back down a how not cute is that?
Why is that not cute though?
He was like, you are so cute.
You see what I mean?
He loved it.
Because this is what you want.
To me, it wasn't cute. To me, specific.
To a lot of us, that's not cute. Because they're probably scared about what they're going to think. This girl with the list?
I'm the girl with the list. The girl with the list.
As she should. That doesn't want to waste her time. That is a career-driven, boss-ass woman that knows what she wants.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
And she's going to let him know.
That's right. That's right. And he was like, that list looks good to me.
I love
He said, that list looks great. I love the list. And I was like, thank you. Let me put it. So now, where were we? And that was it. And it was very clear that we were on the same page. It wasn't like, I don't know, does he like me? But does he want marriage? I don't know. We don't talk about that. It's only our 5th date.
No.
Oh, we were talking about that right away. And that's the clarity. It really helped.
I love this for you. And I love that after coming back from Israel, you had this different aura. You had clarity. And sometimes getting away allows that to come to you. Getting yourself, they always say, there's a plant quote, and it says, they never change the plant, you change the plant. You change where it grows, like you change the environment of the plants. You never change.
The soil.
Yes,
wow.
Exactly. You just change its environment and watch it grow.
I love that.
Yes, and look at you grow, you know? You change your environment, and now it's so beautiful to see. And now we can all watch it.
And we repotted me back in LA, right? Like I'm still, but I had to grow somewhere else for a bit there. Like I had to lift and uproot for a bit. And you know what? And then people also say, well, what if I don't have the luxury? Good for you that you were able to study in Israel for 5 months and come back and have good for you. I was very privileged. And I absolutely acknowledge that. But you can do that anywhere. And if you can't get up and go and you can't find the means to do that, and there are many trips that will sponsor education, and you can absolutely look into those. If you can't, there's a way to uproot even just intellectually with books and mentors and education and all of that, and we have that everywhere. We have that. There's a way.
There's so many resources now.
Absolutely.
You just have to be willing.
That's it.
And you have to jump.
That's it.
No risk, no reward.
That's
and
it.
I truly believe that. And look at your reward. Look what that one risk. And look at the reward your whole life.
You're right.
It's so beautiful.
Everything.
Yes.
As soon as you make one little change and it's like really focused, everything changes. Like it's like a tiny little, maybe 5%. But everything shifts. And it's wild what that looks like. And it's wild. It's just, it's magical. And I really thank this movie, but I think the creative process. And I thank all of the men and women whose shoulders I stand on telling this story, because I definitely can't take ownership. And at many moments, I realized that I also was not, though I'm credited as the director, it was the creator. You know, I believe in a God, and I believe that the creator is the director, and we're really nice, dutiful producers down here if we listen, doing the writing and the producing. And I tried as much to get out of the way, and I saw the power in that, and I see now the fruits that they continue to bloom and feed audience members that are inspired and are going on their own journeys because of the film. So thank God, and I hope that this continues to inspire people, and I hope that our stories, that women and men alike and all of us are able to really create from an honest, authentic, vulnerable space, because that is, we need our stories to be heard. We need to tell our stories. We need to inspire people with our stories. We need to live a more unified, loving life and create that in the world.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about.
Yes, and you're doing it. You know,
trying.
Becky is the example of having courage and bravery, because this is what impacts, this is what makes change, this is what allows the world to see people. We all want to be seen. But how do we be seen if we bury ourselves, if we bury our whispers, right? We can't bury ourselves. We're here for a reason. Take advantage of this time on earth. And I think, you know, listening to you, it's so powerful. And I'm proud of you. And it's very brave and courageous going back, discovering your ancestry. I know it's probably very difficult, spiritually, mentally. I know it wasn't an easy journey. I know that. And it's a health, mental health, physical health. There's a lot of things that you probably had to go through as a woman along this journey. And you had to look at yourself. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do.
Absolutely.
As a woman, and you're doing it in front of a camera. So way to fucking go.
Yeah, but we serve in that
Yes,
way. That way
yes.
it's not just about me.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong about looking in the mirror just for yourself. That's okay. We all need to do that
Yes.
work. We do make the impact on our immediate circle and other people.
Yes.
But to also do it for an audience and serve in that way is like what I think real conscious content is. And that's the goal.
It's the life-changing part of who you are. I mean, we thank you. I can't wait to actually see it, because there's so many questions I had at that dinner table that night. I'll never forget. I was sitting there on the date like, why am I literally was like, why am I here? This is, in my head, I was like, this isn't going to work. I don't know enough about this. I didn't, but I never educated myself. You know what I mean? So there's something that inside of me that I probably should have been like, okay, if you're going to, yes. Or let me look, let me read a book. Let me just, let me see something. You know, but if we all did that, life would be really, this world would be a better place for all of us. So thank you for creating a space for us to learn and to see and to witness your life in real terms and your evolution.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share.
Yes.
Because it's these like micro shares that really allow so many other people to learn about my journey and then their journeys also, in effect. So thank you for the space you've created.
I appreciate that.
I'm really grateful
I
for
truly
it.
appreciate
I
you.
really
You
am.
are a mirror for me. You're a mirror for the audience listening. You truly are. And I just want you to know she's doing all of this with a human in her stomach.
A big one. It's a big one. It's going to be a big one. I feel it.
It's a gift.
You're a gift. But if you want to be like a pound or two later, there is no... Doctor was like, this is a big baby. And I was like, okay.
And she's all belly.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
So I want to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for being you. Thank you for honoring yourself and honoring your creative journey. It's a process, and you did it. And I can't wait to see what else you create in this world. It's exciting. And first things first.
Yeah.
You get the baby.
Yeah.
And then you have the other. I know you're going to have a lot of other babies in this creative world, and we are so stoked to see it. But American Birthright is out.
Yep.
Can you let the audience know where they can see it, how they can contact you?
Absolutely. AmericanBirthrightFilm.com. Should I look into, does it matter?
This is-
I'll look into, that's me. AmericanBirthrightFilm.com. So the movie's finally out for rent. This was like a long time coming, and we hesitated, and we were on the film festival circuit, so now you can actually rent the film. And reach out to us. I am on social media at Becky Tahel or at American Birthright Film as well on Instagram and Facebook. And beyond that, if there are narratives, Jewish narratives that you feel need to be seen, if there's a story you want to tell, if there's a question you had at a random Shabbat meal or a Jewish meal and you were like, what is that?
Yes.
I want to hear that, because I won't know what's begging to be told or wanting to be told until I'm told.
Yes.
So we're incubating Jewish content, and my production company is Manifest Media. Within Manifest, we are committed to telling holistic, dynamic, cinematic, virally optimized, Hollywood-friendly Jewish stories, but with like Jewish narratives, actual Jewish narratives that show the whole of the Jewish community and tell our stories, not in a one-sided, skewed sort of anti-way. And so we're here for that. And I'm here to be in dialogue around that too.
We love that. We love that. Thank you for being and servicing all of us. We appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. I'm so proud of you. This is such a thrill. So proud of you. And I just want to say, girl, we got all of this. We got this.
We got this.
We got this.
Together.
We got this.
Send the strength.
Thank you so much for coming over, sis. I appreciate you and I love you deeply. Please remember to share this with your sisters, subscribe, and leave a comment. Girl, we got this.